It's back. Woo! Yes, back to the sound that you wanted.
Oh, Lord.
What's going on now?
I didn't hear any intro, and
You didn't
our
hear
screens
it?
are black. No.
Oh no, the whole intro played for me. Like the
Okay, and then
whole regular "I Want to Love You" song.
yeah,
It didn't play for you at all.
not at all.
Oh,
But so here we are.
StreamYard, get it together.
Killing me, y'all. Killing me. You guys, welcome to 90 Day the Melanated Way. I'm Linda. That's Abby. We are almost caught up on season 11 of 90 Day Fiance. We're covering episode 18 and episode 19, which is the tell-all part 1. Hey, Raydella. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey. Oh my goodness, now I've lost sound. Oh, you accidentally muted yourself. I can see your mic is crossed out. Oh, Raydella, did you hear the intro when it first came on? I want to see if that was just me that heard it because Linda said she couldn't hear it. Technical difficulties, guys. So sorry, just having some technical difficulties. But this is exciting. We're going to go into episode 18, which is the weddings episode where we got to see everybody's dresses and decor, and then the tell-all. Okay. Now I hear noise from your side.
I am so not impressed. I am so not impressed. I don't know what the intro was. Intro came in and it cut out. Anyways, you guys, let's just jump into it, just in case. Yes, please do let me know if it played. Let me know if you saw Raydella, how it cut me off in the middle of me saying I'm hoping there won't be any technical difficulties, if that is not something. Episode 18, All You Need Is Love. They start the episode off with Sarper and Shekinah, as per usual. It's their bedding day. One of the things I want to do, Abby, is I want to rate out of 1 to 10 each of the weddings and your thoughts. 1 being trash, 10 being fantasy ideal wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So they're having their bedding day, and one of the things we find out is that Sarper's been having nightmares for like the last week, and including the night before his wedding. And he's not sure if he really wants to do this. And he's not sure when he's going to be 100% sure about this whole getting married to Shekinah thing. And some of the things that are worrying him right now is the prenup, the air tags, her selfishness, her insecurities. I'm throwing those things in, but for sure the prenup and air tags. So he's gone MIA again, and she's calling, she's texting, he's not answering, but really he just wants a few moments away from her to get his mind together. I can see that I'm freezing up a little bit, so y'all bear with me. Oh, so irritating. So
she'll be back. It'll all work out. Thank you, Raydella, for going back and checking to see if the intro played. So that's good to know. So Sarper has been having nightmares. Do we think this actually means something? Is it just a coincidence? I think it's a psychosomatic response. There's something that he has not dealt with, it sounds like, from his last marriage that's resurfacing. And unfortunately, that's causing him to have a lot of doubts going into this marriage. But I also think that he didn't arrive in the US in the most comfortable situation. You know, remember, Shekinah kept it from him how small her apartment really was, and the fact that he was going to have to leave anytime that she had clients in the house, in the apartment. And so I don't think that's something you should keep from somebody. I think that made his arrival not feel as comfortable. He didn't feel as welcome in her space as he would like to have. So that probably added to his nightmares as well. Just saying, like the way that Sarper arrived in the United States and the small apartment, and he has to leave every time she has a client, wasn't the most welcoming arrival. So that combined with probably some of the issues from his last marriage, I could understand him struggling.
If this cuts off one more time, I'm just gonna have to stream from my phone or something because it's doing the most. So Shekinah's calling. He's not answering. And one of the things that I think is important, you guys, to remember is that it's okay, especially on your wedding day, to take a minute to yourself, right? That's what you do. And allow the person to be in their moment, to regroup, to reflect, all of the things. I don't think you have to be breathing down your partner's neck because you have your whole life ahead of you to do that. And so she calls and he finally answers and he's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm just, taking a minute, but I need you to leave all your negativity with your hair. And I laughed my face. Now they're getting ready for this bedding. Abby, what are your thoughts on the bedding and what were your thoughts on this specific ceremony before we move on?
Okay, I love this. I feel like it is their personalities. And I love when people do something that's for them and they don't worry about accommodating a bunch of other people. So this was right up their alley. I thought it was great for them. I like the idea of having a small wedding, but I wouldn't do that in bed. It's just an awkward position to sit in. So everybody doesn't look good in pictures all squunched up on a bed like that. They pulled it off. Good for them. But I will give it overall a 9.
Oh, wow.
I love it. I love the fact that they said, let's do what matches our personalities and what we're going to be happy with. The flowers were absolutely gorgeous. Moving the bed underneath the chandelier, perfect idea. And the wedding coordinator was amazing. The way she kind of called crying and upset, and the coordinator was like, everybody does this. Not phased at all. Loved it. Everything was perfect for them.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you. It's perfect for them. There's no way. There is no way. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. Okay? I'm not having a wedding in a bed. I do love that it was small, intimate. It was just about them and it showcased their personality and their relationship. However, all of it, the shoes in the bed, the food on the bed, the friggin' Chippendale outfit, all of it, no, not for me, but for them, absolutely. If I was rating it for them, I'd say 10 out of 10 because that's for them. If I was rating it for me, I would say 2 out of 10 because y'all know, you guys already know how I am. You already know how I am. Between the officiant and the friggin' photographer, the shoes on the bed, the food in the bed, there was a lot going on for me. I was like, oh. Oh no.
Yeah, I would never suggest that anyone throw you a surprise of any kind that was going to include these elements. Not for you. But for them, I thought fantastic. Oh no. We lost Linda again, guys. So drop in the comments if you're in the live right now, if you're on the replay, what do you rate Shekinah and Sarper's bedding on a scale of 1 to 10? And you can rate it 2 ways. You can rate it, how do you feel about it for them, for their personalities? And then for you, like, would you ever want to do a bedding? Okay. So I actually took notes this time, but I'm going to wait for Linda to come back. She might come back on her phone before we move on to Stevie and Marty. I love the wedding episode. The wedding episode of 90 Day Fiance is always my favorite episode. I love to see how everything comes together. Love to see when people choose to show their personalities. I mean, traditional weddings are great, but I think when you consider this wedding as how you are marking the beginning of your life together, when you do something that's really unique and all about your personality is really cool too. So, what is the most unique wedding idea that you've actually been able to attend? I haven't been to a super unique wedding. I've been to a wedding that I won't say it was a disaster, but it had a disastrous moment to it. Okay.
I don't know what to
Linda,
do. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to
are
be
you
like,
on your laptop right now or you're on the
I am.
phone?
I just pulled up my phone because I just don't know what else
I
to
wonder
do.
why it kicks you out and not me, because you're the host.
Right, but so it's my StreamYard, so it's something going on. And it's been going for the last 3 weeks that we've had issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not impressive. So one of the things I thought was important was that Sarper recognizes that he became a better person when he met Shekinah. And he talked about his bottle collection and his black book and how he destroyed those things and how he just is better that he knows her. And I'm glad that he acknowledged that because, again, I think that he's grown on me this season, but I was not a fan of him. And so we credit Shekinah for kind of bringing him into his best self era. And as he continues to grow and gets better, I think that that's a good thing. I did talk about in my notes his male stripper vibes, very Chippendale, but again, it was right in line with the history of these two and how they do things. So Chris was their wedding officiant. They sat on both sides of the bed, and their wedding vows to each other were really interesting to me as well, Abby. The one that stood out to me the most was Sarper's, when he was like, basically, once upon a time, I was living a dirty, dark life. Thanks for not giving up on my red flags. I promise I'll never cheat on you, and I'm taking you as my wife. What were your thoughts on that, Abby?
If I was going to give people advice for writing wedding vows, for writing Instagram dedications to your partner, for any kind of public expression regarding your partner, let's just take positive. Okay? Let's keep references to negative occasions out of it. There's nothing I hate more than listening to somebody talk about the ups and downs of the relationship in an anniversary post or in wedding vows, especially when the ups and downs are not normal things. Like the loss of a job is a normal thing. The loss of a parent is a normal thing. If you're talking about like cheating as an up and down, I don't want to talk about that. This is your wedding vows. This is your anniversary post. So just keep it positive. Talk about what you like about the other person, why you want to be in this relationship, why you're so happy that this day has come. It's my advice, guys. Because once upon a time I was living dirty. What, Sarper?
How about thanks for not giving up on my red flags? Okay, that's not something that I would encourage women to do, is to ignore the red.
Exactly. I mean, like, I don't know if, oh man, we lost her again. I don't know if guys like really realize the impact of some of the things they say sometimes so casually. So casually. His vows were just casually terrible to me. To me. Perhaps to Shekinah, they were perfect and right up her alley and she was fine with them. But, I wouldn't want those kind of vows. I'd want vows that talk about the same thing that he said when he was by himself. When he was by himself, he said, she made me a better person. She helped me turn over this new leaf. I'm this new modern man. He could say all those things as a part of his vows. But instead, he chose to do something different. I don't get it. It reminds me of listening to those podcasts. Like, if you've ever seen the Dear Wifey podcast, it's always something like, oh, well, I ironed his clothes while he was going out to meet his side chick. And okay.
I'm on my phone now, so
Okay.
it's going to be a little bit different for me.
Okay. It's just a little bit skinnier.
Oh,
It makes my head
Lord.
look enormous. I have an enormous head now.
I just feel crazy, and I'm so sad that you guys, thank you so much for bearing with us. And we appreciate you, and I appreciate you so much as we work out all these technical difficulties. Thank God I charged my phone today because I am notorious for being on 10% or less. So yeah, long story short, I'm not into holding on to the red flags, you guys. I think that you should think about what you deserve and what you feel like you deserve and what's best for you. And that's not necessarily always meaning that you ignore red flags. That being said, they are happy. This was the best wedding for them. Hey, Dustin.
Hello.
Long time no see. And Sarper does a little dance, a little strip dance for her, and they are off to the races. Matt, Anie, and Ammani. Let me tell you something. Oof.
Tell me something.
Over it. So last day, and they're fighting as per usual. And Anie just thinks that Ammani is crazy and out of control and that she is trying to control her through money and she's fed up with it. And basically what happened was they made an agreement that Ammani would help with the rent, right? Taking all this time off of work as an exotic dancer, she wasn't going to be able to pay her rent. And that was something that they came up with together.
Mm-hmm.
So if Ammani said, yes, I'll pay your rent, I'll help you with rent every month, then that's what you should continue to do. But Anie feels like, oh, all of a sudden, you said that you wanted to marry Matt and not me. And now all of a sudden this month, this day, just after I said that, oh, the wire transfer won't go through. Like, you're not going to manipulate me, period.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I feel about Ammani is that she even said it, that she's hard to love. She's very high maintenance. It's very exhausting. I don't know if you've ever been with someone who is constantly bringing in drama, whether it's fighting, whether it's like attitude, whatever it is, but they're constantly bringing something every single day. It's something. That energy is exhausting. So I know exactly what Anie was saying. So she's just like, you know what? Please stop talking. And she thinks Ammani is crazy. And Ammani tries to explain how she tried to wire the money and then she didn't get it. And she thinks that I cut her off because she wants to marry Matt. Yeah, those are all of the things that you did. And she called you out on it. And Matt tells Ammani, stop it. Not now. Just not now. Whatever you're doing, just stop doing it. And I need to be able to get through to you. And that was one of the things that I noticed, Abby, is that when Ammani gets on a rant, she wants to make it about herself. And she will continue to just talk trash. And she fights dirty, right? She doesn't fight like, here's the issues. Let's sit down and talk about it. She raises her voice. She says mean things. And even Anie is like, you're yelling ugly things. She called her like, oh, you have no self-respect. Even in my darkest days, I wouldn't be a dancer. And you like to control men through your dancing. And I don't control people. Like, she just went off, you guys. And it was really nasty. And I want you guys to pay attention to how people talk to you when they're angry, because that's their true self. Abby, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was really, really disgusted. Ammani has already said some really cruel things in the past. And this particular rant was even worse because Anie has a good reason to believe what she's saying. Now, I think that Ammani could possibly be telling the truth because I've had trouble using my online bank accounts when I'm in Mexico as well. So it's possible she could be telling the truth, but whether she is or not, she could have said to Anie, well, but if she was telling the truth, I think what she could have said to Anie is, I understand why you're doubting me, but let me show you what happens. Look at the phone with me when I try to make the transfer. Instead, she insists that she should be given the same amount of trust as she had before she said all these nasty things on this trip. And that's just not true. Anie has a good reason for not trusting you right now. So if you really want to give her that trust, you want to give her a reason to trust you, yelling these things is not going to do it. It's just explaining calmly, just look, I'm trying to do it. It's not going through. I really apologize. I'm going to fix it as soon as I get home. Right? Um, so yeah, Ammani has turned out to be one of the worst kind of women. These are the women that you do not want to be friends with. They will put you in harm's way just to have, they'll shove you in front of a puddle just to have something to walk over and get to the other side. She's not safe to be friends with.
100%. 100%. Hey, Joslo.
Hey, Joslo.
So Ammani's still screaming, and she's trying to use her words to hurt Anie, which I thought was really, really terrible. And Matt's like, I understand you're upset, but don't say things that you're going to regret. Oh, well, too late, Matt. She's already been there, done that, and is taking it down to the gutters. And the fact that you guys have been together for 10 years, you should know that this is her personality. And what are you doing about it? Because it's clear that she has become unhinged. And she has a literal full meltdown, you guys. She melts all the way down like an adult tantrum, crying, all of the things. And one of the things I noticed in this, Abby, is that she was also doing that because she was not getting a response from Anie.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I want you guys to pay attention to. Oftentimes, manipulators and narcissists and just selfish people in general, when they're popping off for a reason because they're trying to get a rise out of you, right? And they're trying every point that they think that can agitate you, but when you don't respond, that's when they like full on meltdowns. Why?
Right.
Because all the things they're trying to do to trigger you are triggering you. So it's almost like it flips back on them and it triggers them instead. And that's what happened in Ammani's situation.
Yeah.
So still talking, she's still screaming, she's still saying nasty things to Anie, and Annie is ignoring all of it. And she just is like, nope, not today. And they go to the airport because they're all leaving, back to their home cities. And Annie's like, you know what? I don't like many things about you. I think that you need to control yourself. I think you're unstable. I think you need therapy. And I don't want, nor do I need this. And again, Ammani at the airport melts down and says, I'm the problem, that she is hard to love. And yes, those are all true statements. You are the problem and you are hard to love. And I agree with Anie that you need to go and seek therapy and figure out what it is exactly it is that makes you happy. Because if you're not happy, you're not going to be happy with other people.
Correct.
Moving on to Juan and Jessica, their wedding day. Juan has a written vows, and he talks about how he likes to write, but he hates to write, so he's not enjoying this. I don't know about you all, but this is a super red flag to me. Now, mind you, in my opinion, overall, he had one of the best wedding vows, so I don't know if he was just yanking our chain, because his wedding vows had me in tears. So you pulled that together in 2 hours? I mean, maybe you're quick on your feet. Some people need a little extra deadline. In university, Abby, were you a person that got organized for your projects, assignments right away, or did you wait till the last minute?
I think that we just have a cultural element here. Colombians are just really good with words.
Okay, but did you hear what I asked you?
Did I write quickly?
In university, did you do your assignments right away and prepare for them, or were you
Oh, I always prepared. I was never a last minute Lucy. I've always had a calendar, a hard calendar, and I always write my assignments. And then from the date that it's due, I go backwards and give myself smaller assignments to get it done by the time that it's due. And it's going to be done at least 2 or 3 days. maybe more, before the actual due date. I have never left anything to chance.
Yeah, I believe that about you for sure. For sure. So the wedding starts at 4. Juan knows he has to be there by 2. And so he has 2 hours to write his wedding vows. That would have irritated me, but here we are. And so he's getting ready. He's having fun on his wedding day. He's joking about the wedding being canceled to Herbie, which is Megan's husband. I thought that was hilarious. Again, it would irritate me, but I thought that was hilarious. And so they get to the wedding venue. Juan is excited. He's like, 4 years ago, flirting with the lady in the middle of a casino, and now we're getting married. And that, you guys, is a sign for all us single ladies that we need to be outside this summer. We need to be outside. How are you going to meet someone if you're inside? You got to be outside. You be at the casino, go on that trip, go on that boat cruise, go to the restaurant by yourself, go to the bar by yourself, go to that yoga class, the Pilates class, do all the things, but be outside.
Mm-hmm. Anything. You can go to the library, guys. Coffee shop. If you work from home, just relocate to the coffee shop one day a week.
Yeah, I'm going to be outside this summer, y'all. And when I say I'm running amok, and if you follow my personal on Instagram, then I do not want any comments. If you are lucky to be in the close friends and you see the debauchery, then you know what? You'll see. But I plan to be outside all summer long. Because
As you should.
I'm with my husband this summer. And I would share with you, see how God protects me, April. I would share with a text that I got earlier today, but since StreamYard isn't working and on my phone, I can't show you.
Well, remember, everybody remember, show us the text next time. Show us the text next time.
I will have done by then, friends. Okay. So Juan's at the wedding venue. He still hasn't written his vows. He's having drinks, which I thought was like, wow, what time is it? I guess it's afternoon, so it is happy hour somewhere. But they were already drinking like beers and rum and cokes. He was like full in. Vows not done, but he's having a good time. And
he's enjoying his wedding.
Oh Lord. I think that person knew I was talking about them. Okay, so he is hanging out with Herbie and his cousin, and we don't really see the back context. What we do see is mi posta in Espanol, which means wife, but it also happens to mean handcuffs. And he makes the whole handcuffs but behind his back situation, starts laughing. Herbie's like, I'm never gonna forget this. Yeah. Juan, again, I don't know if you're going into this with a attitude. I mean, what do you think, Abby?
I do think in this case it was a harmless joke. In other situations, maybe it could be offensive. I think his was a harmless joke.
Yeah, he was being silly.
Yeah.
But funny. So it's wedding ceremony time. His aunt, which are his mom's 2 older sisters, and as we know, 2 years ago his mom passed away. So in her place, his 2 aunts are walking him down the aisle, which was just so special, you guys. It was so special. So Auntie Novella and Auntie Martha walked him down the aisle. And then it was Jessica's turn to walk down the aisle. And I just find this all really fascinating. I get it. That's your daughter. She decided to go on a reality show. You don't really want a part of it, but you do want to be a part of her wedding. So you're like, yeah, you can film me, but don't talk to me. Don't put a lower third and put what my names are. Because we still don't know and haven't heard real audio from Jessica's mom and dad. They just appear, they do what they have to do, and then leave us out of this. So they walk her down the aisle, no names, just this man, woman. And Juan's vows were beautiful, you guys. They literally brought me to tears. He did it half in English, half in Spanish, as well as Jessica made a very heartfelt attempt to speak Spanish as well. Got Catherine to pre-proof her Spanish version. And I just thought that was beautiful. That is absolutely the way where you combine your cultures and you make the wedding about both of you. And side note, Amber and Danielle from Love in Paradise were in the audience, and they're actually all really good friends, and they all hang out on a regular basis.
Yeah, good for them. I'm glad they're friends. I'm glad those guys have friends. But I am going to criticize Jessica a little bit. She could have worked on the pronunciation more.
I mean, she clearly said that she's, well, we hear it in the I'm jumping ahead. She could have practiced her vows, yeah. She could have practiced. Is that all you have to say?
That's it. I mean, good for trying. Um, it was just it was a little grating to listen to.
Lord.
But good for her for trying.
Moving on to Mark and Mina. It's 2 hours to their wedding. They've been together for 5 years. They've been engaged for 2 years.
Oh, Linda, we didn't rate the snow wedding.
Oh yeah, let's rate it. So, oh, did I already jumped ahead? Okay, so yeah, we rated Sarper and Shekinah. Matt, Anie, and Ammani were never getting married. Okay, Juan and Jessica. What's your rating? 1 to 10, 1 being trash, 10 being fantasy.
Okay, so I am actually going to go with a 9 again. I was really into the snow on the ground, and it didn't look like anybody was actually freezing. It looked like it was just, the snow was there, but it wasn't super, super cold, so you could still be outside. Like, I didn't see anybody clenching their, a jacket tight or anything like that. So I loved I don't know what that's called. It's not brick, whatever they were standing on. I don't know what that's called, but I love the placement of that, and I love the colors. Yeah, I was into it.
Well, not to go against what you're saying. I think it was a beautiful wedding for sure. Definitely, his uncle, Juan's uncle, and his aunt Novella were freezing. They had the blankets around. I don't know if you remember, but his uncle literally had the blanket
Oh, I didn't see that.
up over his nose, and so did his aunt. So people were freezing. I am gonna give it a 5.
Okay.
I thought I thought the ceremony itself was great. Didn't love the location. Didn't love that there was like no fire pits or any of that stuff. So it's gonna be a 5 for me. It's gonna be average.
That makes sense because you saw them struggling with the weather. I didn't. I missed that part. So that makes sense. Okay.
Mark and Mina, yeah, so 2 years engaged. She's still really sad that Clayton can't be at her wedding. So she wants to make sure that she involves or includes a picture of her and Clayton that will be placed on a chair, as well as they're going to live stream for Clayton. Now she's getting ready, and Black girls, I'm going to talk to y'all right now. I'm going to talk to y'all. I'm keeping it real. But Delita, her hair makeup person, did her dirty. This install, the hair install and the makeup for her wedding day, it wasn't hitting. It wasn't hitting. Not for her special day, it wasn't. I get she wanted to do the full pull back, right? You want to pull back and be all like sleek. But when you're going to do a lace front and you're sleeking it back, you got to pull out the baby hairs and not be crazy with it like you see with the swirls. But you got to pull a few out so it looks more natural. This, like, when you see a barber and they do a hairline on a guy and you get that line, that should not be happening on women. And then with the makeup, one of the things I love about Mina is that she's real and natural about who she is. So you can see her with no makeup, her skin looking crazy. If you look at me right now, I have this, I'm going to post it later on my stories, but I have this pimple in the middle of my forehead. My skin's been breaking out. I don't know what. I'm allergic to something. I don't know what. Hormones. I don't know what it is. But they lie to you when they say, you know, it's only when you're growing up and going through puberty. No, no.
That's
Lies. But I thought that Delita did her dirty. I think that this was not her best look. I've seen her look way better with her doing her own makeup than what I was seeing on her wedding day. What were your thoughts on it, Abby?
Oh, I don't want to tear her down too much, but I didn't care for her look either.
I'm
I
not.
didn't think that her dress fit very good. Um, I also don't like when people do loose sheer. That's just my preference. I think if you're going to wear a dress that's held together and where it's sheer at some moments, then the sheer needs to be tighter. So the loose sheer between the boobs was not doing it for me. Um, and I agree with you on the hair and makeup. She, despite me not enjoying her hair, makeup, or dress, she still radiated coming down the aisle with just like joy and happiness. But I fear this was not a good look for her.
Okay, and so we're clear. I'm not tearing Mina down at all.
Oh,
Not at all. And I agree with you that she 100% shine because she's always going to shine because she's a star and she's a beautiful soul. I specifically said Delita, her hair and makeup person, because that's her name. I made a note to write it down, and my note was she did her dirty. That was not your best work, Delita. And so I blame Delita. I do not blame Mina. Mina did what everyone should do. And I believe Aaliyah alluded to it in this episode as well. When the circumstances are not great, you still have grace and you still enjoy the moment. The people are there for you in the moment and you make it about the moment. And that's exactly what Mina did. I'm just saying, Delita, you could have done better.
yeah. Have you seen Delita's other work?
If not, but I will probably look it up because I am nosy like that.
Yeah, there's no world in which you're going to do that kind of install slicked back with nothing between.
Delita, do better. You know better. You're going to be on national TV. If you want to bring in business, this is not how you do it, friend. I'm just trying to look out for you. Do better, be better.
But
Uh,
hard
we
wig, soft life.
we meet Felipe, Marty's friend. I don't recall ever meeting him before. And my question to you, Abby, was he also the officiant?
Say the whole thing over again. I missed the very first part. We met someone that we never saw before.
Felipe, Mark's best friend.
Yeah, no, I don't remember this person. Maybe we met them like when all the family was together and I was just distracted by like they were overwhelming Mima with the prenup and all that stuff. Maybe he was there at that time, but I don't remember.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And you guys let us know in the live chat or in the replay. Have we met Mark's best friend before? Because I do not recall. And I also don't know if he was actually because we didn't hear him speak. But then I was like, oh, is he from France as well? And was he the one that was officiating the wedding? I was because
Mhm.
that was all the same person, but I could be wrong.
Mhm.
So there at the venue, Mark has nicked his face while he was shaving, and he kept that tissue on his face the whole to the very last minute, y'all. They're taking pictures, and at first I was like, oh my god, I can't believe you're taking pictures like that. But then I thought that will be good for like behind the scenes when they go back and look at their wedding photos and be like, oh, remember this? So I was okay with it after that. Wedding's about to start. Jordan, who is a hater 2x4 1000%, is happy. This is the first thing she says. She's happy that Mina signed the prenup. Oh, that's where your mind went. That's where your mind went. Hater 2x4. And so the ceremony starts. Mark gets down there. His whole family is there. again, I really do have questions about the whole family dynamics because there are a lot of people there that they show consistently but without words, and I would like to know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
But who stole the show was little Maria, who is the ring bearer, and she had the box open, and when Daddy called her, she ran, and it reminded me of a Beyonce moment where she ran. Mark picked her up, and then she turned to the crowd and she started waving or the crowd. Really sweet moment. Everyone started waving back to her, and it also made it a very inclusive situation, which I thought was beautiful.
That was a really cute moment.
Yeah. So Mina looked amazing walking down the aisle, and again, despite all the things I just said, she was radiating down the aisle. And they had a dual language officiant, which I loved that. Again, a way to include both cultures, you guys. Keep that in mind because we don't often see that on 90 Day Fiance. Their wedding vows were pretty standard. Nothing that they had like written separately and apart, but it was still quite beautiful. At the end, Mark was like, "You are my person," and Mina's like, "You are my person." This is rich people stuff. They walk down to their plane, the hydroplane that's waiting for them, and they fly off to the reception. Now back to Jordan. Jordan does her to camera, says, oh, the wedding was beautiful, but I also don't want Mina to have any more kids in the future. And that is when Mina jokes that she was pregnant, and Mark's face fell to the ground. Rating this wedding 1 to 10, Abby?
So this wedding didn't do anything for me. There was nothing like particularly interesting about it, as much money as they have. Where was the something different or something interesting? There was no particular, like, yeah, they had an officiant who was speaking French, but there's no cultural elements here, not even like American cultural elements. You know what I mean? Like, this wedding just seemed like devoid of character. If we didn't have a little moment with Maria, we'd have nothing. And I do not care for the optics of Clayton being on the TV screen and all the white people are on the other side. So I unfortunately am not going to rate this wedding very high. I'll give it a 4.
I do want to also say that we saw Jack, who is Mark's son, that we saw for the first time, and clearly he didn't want to be a part of it either. Said on his part. Alex, his sister, was there. Again, no words. I just find it interesting, the people who are like, oh, if we must, we'll be here, but like, don't come talk to me. I am gonna give this wedding a 5 as well. It didn't like knock me off my feet. It was okay. But I do think it was right up their alley where it was very like nondescript. This is who we are, and I agree with Abby. I think that Maria stole the show. I do like the plane situation. I wouldn't be mad if my husband had a plane to jet me off on my wedding day. Moving on to Sean and Aaliyah. It's the day after their wedding. We find out that the mom actually really did hurt her foot. She tore ligaments on both sides of her foot. Didn't get home from the hospital till early into the next morning. And things are just bad, you guys. They're bad with Sean and Aaliyah, but they've been bad. Like, how do you have a terrible wedding and continue on? Like, you're just setting up your married life poorly. It's I don't know how they can do it. So they slept in separate rooms because they had a terrible wedding. They were mad at each other on their wedding day. And Sean, they go for coffee, and Sean decides that he's gonna communicate to Aaliyah how he was feeling, and he felt that she was very selfish yesterday. There was no bride for 2 hours, and he feels that she took the joy out of the entire day for him. And between her lateness and no concern for his mom, who, was injured, was really bad for him. And he just feels like he's a generous person and a giving person. And what he doesn't like is a selfish person. And he feels like she was selfish in that moment. What were your thoughts on that, Abby?
I understand, but I also want to hear Sean acknowledge that he could have opened his phone and called Leah as well. They're both at fault, you know? So in this long speech of explaining how he felt, which is fine, somewhere in there just say, I guess I could have called you 30 minutes and I could have called you 45 minutes in as well. But it was none of that. It was just like, it's all your fault. And I do think Aaliyah is at fault as well. But I just think you're the older person in this relationship. Be the older person.
It is Aaliyah's fault. It's Aaliyah's fault. She was being selfish in that moment. I'm trying to put myself in that situation. If I had to wait for my husband for 2 hours while he got ready, and then I had a parent who had an injury, and my future husband heard that my parent was injured and didn't reach out to me, why do I have to reach out to you and tell you when I already know that you know about it? And what is it that you're doing for 2 hours when for the last 90 days you knew when the wedding was going to be? Like, what is it that you're doing? That's your poor time management. And it's also very selfish. And Aaliyah has talked about how she is a perfectionist and all of this, and she has to look good and all of that stuff. And I get she's going through transition and trying to figure out who she is. But it wasn't just you and Sean, you had other guests and other people to think about. And you just made it about yourself. And I think that that's very selfish. Now, was it your special day? Absolutely. And should you feel special on your special day? Absolutely. But I do think that you need to also remember that it's not just about you as well, and keep into consideration the people that took time out of their life to celebrate you.
That's true. That's true.
So
They just, what they're not doing? Like, if you really want to be in a good relationship, you have to assume the best of your partner. You have to. And in that moment, as time was ticking and ticking and ticking, neither one of them was assuming the best of their partner. Because if you were, like you said, Linda, if you're waiting for your husband and somebody is hurt in the party and you think, well, I know for sure so and so told him, so why didn't he reach out to me? If you want to assume the best of your partner, maybe they actually don't know, because for sure if they knew they would have called me. So let me call and tell them what happened. Let me just assume that they have just not heard the news, or maybe they don't realize I need to hear from them right now. Maybe they think that because I'm in front of these people, I don't have time to hear from them right now. But like, if you're not even assuming the best of your partner, you've got nowhere to go from there.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right, but you're right. I'll leave it at that. I think Aaliyah was showing her age, and that 20 something and early 20 something. I think she was showing her age in this very moment. So Sean goes on to say that, maybe I need to push away from you in order to save myself. Aaliyah is, teary eyed. She feels wrong and small. And we find out in this episode that their future is uncertain. Now, if you can remember, because they didn't show clips of their wedding, but how would you rate their wedding 1 to 10?
I mean, the location, beautiful. The decor, gorgeous. But nobody was really happy to be there. So it's going to have to be a 4.
It's a 4 for me as well. It's a 4 for me as well, and a generous 4 at that, because if I was sitting around for 2 hours in that crazy heat, over 100 Fahrenheit, for my Canadian friends, like 40 Celsius, for 2 hours, I would be pissed. And think about it, they were drinking champagne. It was a mess. I'm surprised a fight didn't break out.
I'm 100% sure I would have just gone home. I've gone home for less.
On to Stevie and Marty. It's their wedding day. I find it hard to believe. Well, I guess I don't, because he gave a reason. But Marty doesn't know how to tie a tie, and neither does Saheed. But what was crazy to me is that you see that Saheed, before they leave, is his tie is all tied up. So who tied that for you? And then when they get to the venue, all of a sudden, Marty's tie is tied up. If you guys are going to make that a storyline, I'm going to need you to follow through with it. So who tied it for him? Both of them allegedly did not know how to tie that tie. And all
Yes,
of a sudden,
producers.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
terrible. And he had one of those, like, I don't know if you guys have ever dated like a guy who's like super fit and they get those stretchy button down shirts that show their muscles. He had one of those on, and I just was like, wow, that's a really tight shirt. But you know, pop off, Marty, pop off. They get to the venue, and one of the things I thought was beautiful, again, is incorporating culture, is Stevie surprised Marty with the Hafsun, which was a symbol of Persian culture, 7 things that start with S, that in a few days was going to be Persian New Year. And I know I said this before, and I'm asking because I'm truly interested. And you guys know I ask a lot of questions. It's because life is about constantly learning. So I do have friends from Iran who say they're from Iran, and I do have friends from Iran who say they're from Persia. And I noticed in this episode that instead of saying Iran and Iranian, Mahdi switched to Persian and Persian culture and Persian New Year. And I know you guys are going to explain it to me. And so I'm going to ask, because there's nowhere in present day that's called Persia. And I know about the Persian Empire way back in the day and how it evolved to Iran and Iraq. So are you calling it Persian? Are you calling yourself Persian in honor of the Persian Empire? Or are you saying Persian because of Western beliefs about Iran?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I understand the question. I think the answer is no, but obviously I'm neither Persian or Iranian, so we'll let the comments tell us. But I think the answer is no. I don't think that they would define themselves by Western standards. I think that some things are part of Persian culture persisting before the existence of Iran, and that calendar is one of them.
And so that's what I'm asking. Is it in honor of the Persian Empire and the history before Iran was Iran? Let me know, because no one seems to be able to answer that question for me. So let me know. So Maddie was very touched by it, almost to the point that he, quote unquote, felt overwhelmed. It's the first time that he's celebrating Persian New Year without his family. He's getting married. He's in a foreign country, foreign culture. So all of that is very overwhelming for him. But he is touched that Stevie took the time to remember him and include his culture in their wedding as well. Stevie shows up, and if you guys remember, she bought her dress off of Amazon, didn't try it on till the day of her wedding, but she looked beautiful. She shares a really sweet moment with her dad. Dad says, "You look beautiful." But Dad was funny in this to me because he had all these low shots to camera when he was doing his one-on-one to camera. And one of the things that he said is that, you know, he's cool with any more surprises from Stevie. He's surprised that she's getting married. He thought for sure she'd either be pregnant, like a baby mama, or a lesbian. He did see a wedding in her future, which I just was like, dang, Perry, okay. Marty is happy, says, you know, everything that they went through, this life is going to be worth it, meaning married life. Now, they do their wedding vows. I thought that was beautiful. They had it, and we'll talk about it when we rate the wedding. And then they go back to the ceremony. And I know you guys, they only had 2 weeks to plan it. Well, and honestly, they had longer than that, but I'm gonna say it was 2 weeks. But loaded mashed potatoes at your okay. That's all I gotta say about that. Do you want to add anything before we rate it?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. There's got to be caterers available, but whatever.
Because that food was not given. And loaded mashed potatoes, y'all, and a friggin', I didn't even know because it's so long ago, but like a punch bowl,
Yeah.
scooper, the cake that you got down at Ralph's or wherever you got it from.
It's not just married. So the food they had the first night that he came was also terrible. So one of the questions I would have for them to tell all is, what is going on in Hattiesburg that y'all can't get good food?
That part. Let's rate this wedding.
Okay. I loved the brick, the lights, the Norwa's table, the half sin. I liked her dress. I thought it was very her. So I'm gonna give them a 9.
Wow.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't like about their ceremony, which why should I take an issue with it if they don't take an issue with it, is it was all Christian. And if I'm not mistaken, he's not Christian.
Interesting.
Maybe he's converting. We don't know. We didn't, I don't recall them having any conversations on camera about religion. So
I mean, as a Christian, I didn't have an issue with that, and thank you for pointing that out. I didn't actually even think it was an issue. I hated the wedding venue. I hated the location. I hated that they showed me a sign that looked like they were going to some restaurant bar. I the candles that were around her dress while they were saying their vows, that stressed me out. Like the cat with the plastic candles, because if they were plastic candles and they just like the little lights, then no. And if they were real candles and her dress is right there, still nah. I didn't like the loaded mashed potatoes. I didn't like the sparklers when they were leaving, and the sparklers and like sparkles could jump out on the dress or the shirt. No, I did no. The exposed brick, I'll give you that. But even the color, like what was the theme? What was the color situation? I didn't like it. So
yeah, it did not appear to have a theme.
there was too much mishmatchy going on. The good thing, I personally loved their vows. I loved that they talked about husband and wife being a constant friend, a faithful partner, love you in sickness and in health, in joy and sorrow, in life and death. That was my favorite part. I thought that those vows really spoke to me specifically, because I think all of those things are important. But the overall ceremony, I'm going to give it a 2 because it seemed no, it was
Okay.
it was so far. For all the weddings, there was not one that it's been like a 5 or less for me.
Yeah, I would not think that any of these weddings are weddings that you would like to have.
Not one.
No.
Not one, y'all. There is not one. That's probably why I'm single.
No, it's not.
We're moving on to the tell-all, you guys. I can't believe we finally got here. We are on
Yes.
11, episode 19 of the tell-all part 1, and it did not disappoint, y'all. It did not disappoint me at all. When I say it brought the drama, bring it on, y'all. And go ahead, be at war with all of them, okay? All of them. Shekinah arrives. She's not good with Sarper. She's not with a unified front with him, so she came in solo. Then Marty and Stevie arrived, and again, questions of her sexuality are starting to come up. Joan and Greg arrive, and Joan has him. He's carrying everything. She's having a coffee, and she is just looking at him like, "Go ahead, peasant." Tell the producers that she's quote unquote training him. Again, that wouldn't be for me. Come fully trained. Come fully trained. And one of the things I want to tell you guys that I've noticed, and I want to know if you guys think this is true as well. I have found that I'm just gonna say I have found recently, and I don't know if the tides have turned and we're just at a different time, that you could be a really amazing, nice girl, and that's great. But guys also love when you are like a little bit trashy, not trashy, but like mean to them and direct, and you tell them exactly what you need when you need it. It's very interesting to me. It's very, very interesting. But I'm also not interested in training any man. Like, we're grown now, y'all. We're grown.
Yeah.
Joan's
Yeah.
26, she's younger. So I think that she might have the bandwidth to train her 35-year-old, closer to 40-year-old husband. But I'm personally not interested in training anybody. I like to mold you to the things that I like, but that's in getting to know you in the dating situation. These are the things that I like. This is how I communicate. If it's a fit, it's a fit. But what I'm not about to do is train you to be the type of husband that I want you to be. Like, you should already be the man that you are at 35 years old. But she has no problem with this. Fine. Sarper arrives on his own. His first words out of his mouth, Abby, is that he's regretting marriage. Marty and Greg meet, and here's another thing that I think is funny about men. So they're both allegedly tall, and Marty says he's 6'4", and Greg says he's 6'3", but Greg in the shot looked taller than Marty, which is why there was something funny. There was something funny that I want to share with you guys. So I saw it on Instagram, and it said, why are women such terrible parallel parkers, Abby?
Well, I disagree with the premise, but go ahead with the joke.
It's the joke. Okay. Why?
I know I ruined it. Abby ruins everything.
Why are women such terrible parallel parkers? This is a joke. I'm not saying we are, because I'm an amazing parallel parker. I know that a lot of you guys are as well. But the joke is, women are terrible parallel parkers because they're constantly being lied to what 8 inches is. Which is what is exactly this Marty and Greg situation. How is one of them 6'4" and the other 6'3", but the 6'3" person is taller than the 6'4" person? One of you is lying.
Right.
And you're lying to yourself and you're lying to others. That was the point.
Mm-hmm.
Greg meets Sarper, and Greg is a super fan of Sarper. Like, when I say he lit up, y'all, he lit up. Sarper is his favorite person. Meanwhile, Greg is like sweating bullets. I'm not sure what was going on there. Maybe it was his nerves and excitement.
Probably.
A combination of all of those things. And so Sarper and Greg and Marty are kicking it in the back and in the green room area. And Sarper is giving his advice on how to handle a tell-all. And he calls it the cancellation method. And I don't. What you want to do is tell everyone exactly how you feel. And how you do it is you compliment them first, and then you insult them. Greg, I think you're great. but you're sweating bullets.
Yes, Sarper, just don't forget you have to close the sandwich. So if you're going to do the sandwich method, nice thing, not so nice thing, nice thing. You got to close the sandwich.
Yeah, he wasn't doing that. He's like, nice thing, mean thing, and then smile in their face. That should be it.
He's like, he's an open face sandwich.
Okay, you guys know that I was having technical difficulties. Oh, this is still my computer. I just need to get a charger for my phone. And so I'll be right back. Abby?
Yes.
If you want to hold the line for a minute.
Yes, we'll hold the line. We are waiting for Linda to come back. Look, that was so fast.
Yeah, because I knew where it was exactly. All right, let's plug this in so that no more technical issues for the day. I have had enough. That being said, Aaliyah and Sean arrive, and we find out there's a lot of changes in their relationship. And one of the things that I was like, just tell us, Sean, or just don't say anything. But Sean says because there's a lot of changes in his relationship, he doesn't know if he's just going to hold back and not tell us, or if he's just going to come clean. I'm like, I hate when people do that. Like, oh, I want to tell you something, but I don't know if I should tell you. Well, then why did you bring it up? Jessica and Juan arrive, and literally that's all I have. There's nothing. Shekinah and Stevie meet. They really like each other, and then Shekinah and Ammani, we find out, have beef even before the tell-all started because Ammani messaged Shekinah on Instagram and was really trying to befriend her, but also then said, sorry for everything that I'm about to say at the tell-all about you, which I think is a really nasty piece of work. Like, you slide into someone's DM to act like you're going to be their friend, but you're also being opportunistic, right? Because you already know that Shekinah and Sarper have established themselves as a standout brand on the 90-Day franchise. You've been wanting to be on TV for a long time, and this is not your first reality show. You were on some, like, get rich something or other with Matt already. That didn't pan out for you. So then you decide that you're going to be a pretend throuple. And one of the things that we're going to talk about in this episode on the tell-all that I was disgusted by is the fact that you three are still together, but you're only still really together because you want to be on future episodes. Because that last episode 18 should have been the end of y'all. Don't tell me that you guys are still together, and we'll get into it when we talk about them. But no, you're opportunistic for 100% sure. Mark and Mina arrive, and they are just truly, I think, a lovely couple. And I met Mark at Sarper's stand-up last week, and you can tell like he truly loves Mina, like that. He truly loves that woman, and it shows with them. Like, it shows like they're about the coupleness of it all, and not so much about the celebrity of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Ammani looks completely different, and if my computer had not shut down, I had a whole slideshow for you with the before and afters, and maybe I'll pop it up in our community. That's what I'll do. I'll pop up all the photos on our community page after our show today. But she looks completely different. She got a ton of work done. She got a BBL done, a nose job done, her lips done, her boobs done. I personally think she looked way better before. I'm not against a nip or a tuck, but this is like, who are you? Who told you that you needed to do all of that to change completely? And she's only 30, you guys. 30. She's 30 years old. What are your thoughts, Abby? Because I was like, wow.
I have a lot of thoughts about plastic surgery, but we read her Instagram post, one of our other episodes. This isn't healthy. And I unfortunately think that she is still spiraling downwards.
100% she's spiraling. And, I will say this, you guys, it does take a lot of self-confidence and security in who you are as a person to be on a reality show. Because not only are you exposing the good and the bad and the ugly of yourself, you're opening up to the trolls and the bullying that comes along with reality TV. And the 90-day fandom, we've talked about this years ago, but the 90-day fandom is one of the harshest fandoms that they're out there. And y'all are neck and neck with the Real Housewives franchise. There's the only two franchises that is like, I will say it. It's like 99% women based, where women are the biggest viewers. The the demographic is majority women, and the women, y'all tend to be the biggest bullies, and I don't understand why. Y'all bully. You guys especially tend to bully women that are beautiful, and I personally think that that's something that's within you specifically, and not being happy with yourself, and so you're lashing out. But if it's something else, let me know, you guys. I'm not sure what it is, but this bullying business is it can be something. And some of y'all have tried to come for me on the 90-day page. And when I say, you know, and Joslo, she can back me up, maybe not. But Canadians were very, very nice all the time. But don't it takes a minute to get me there. But if you're gonna get me there, then be prepared for what I'm going to say back. Because what I find is that when y'all come for me like that, and then I say a little something, and then you say, well, why are you picking on my comment specifically? Don't friggin' tag me then. Don't talk crazy to me online. If you don't expect me, because I can't read all the comments, obviously, but if I see it and it's crazy, you tag me, you said something, be prepared for me to say something back. And then be prepared for the regular people who agree with what I said, maybe not so much how I said it, but the principle of it all, to chime in as well. Don't then play victim. You can't be a bully and a victim at the same time. Stop bullying women. Love on each other, support each other, lift each other up. We have it hard enough as it is out there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Do you want to add anything, Abby?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't. Yeah, we can go ahead.
Okay, so the women are sitting back there. Joan asked Stevie, why does she have so many boob portraits? Which is the beginning of when I was like, oh, Joan, I've loved you this whole season. Why are you being this way right now? Because I'll tell you, and I was saying to Abby in our virtual green room that Joan rubbed me the wrong way in this tell-all. Like,
Right.
what I don't want you to do, Joan, if you see this, if you hear me, is don't change who you are because you're in America living your best life. Be the Joan that you always were and always should
Mm-hmm.
be. Because this little attitude business, whatever's happening with you, it was not a good look on you. You look terrible, and you are perpetuating the stereotype of Black women, and I don't want that for you, and I don't want that for us.
There's so many interesting things about Stevie that she could have asked about or talked about to get to know her. That was the least of them, in my opinion. So I didn't care for that question either. You guys, we can relate to each other and talk to each other nicely. It's okay.
Yep. Um, Sean and Aaliyah arrive. Aaliyah looks like a superstar. Superstar. She's really embraced the Hollywood lifestyle. Sean has not been looking forward to the tell-all, and so Sean, the host, arrives, and she talks about how there are 6 couples and 1 throuple to talk about. She starts with Stevie and Marty, and how they didn't take the full 90 days to get married because they wanted to save money. And Sean the host asked them, was it worth it? And both Stevie and Maddie said probably not. However, we do find out that Marty has already gotten his green card and is working. Congratulations to Marty. He's working as a personal trainer. What were your thoughts on that, Abby?
That's excellent. So that would mean time frame wise, they got married definitely before the filing fees went up in April. And he also said it was before the Persian New Year, so that was before the end of March. They got married, early mid March sometime. So that means that he got his green card in maybe less than a year. So that's really good. They put together probably some really strong evidence, and he didn't have to have an interview to get it granted. That's probably what happened.
I'm shocked because that was fast.
Yeah, that was really fast. I have had some that go that fast. Like the people who put together, if they give me really good evidence to start with, showing that they're financially entangled, that they've had, a lot of visits with family together, that they know a lot about you, and if they write personal stories, that helps too, guys. A lot of times you want to just submit letters from friends and family saying, yeah, we know them as a couple. That's not as strong as if the two of you write a personal story explaining how you met, how your dates went, how you decided to get married, or if there was a proposal. Like writing that personal statement and submitting it with your application is a lot stronger than a bunch of letters from family that's like, yes, we know both of them as a couple. They're great people.
There you go, you guys. Some more immigration knowledge. So, Maddie struggled a little bit from being so far from Iran and his family over this last year or so that they've been married. But he is happy that he's working as a personal trainer. We do find out that Stevie's helping him with that by sending him females his way. And we learn a little bit about Stevie in this tell-all, part 1, where she suffers from extreme fatigue, from narcolepsy, and how she kind of went through a whole fitness transformation. She was over like 200 pounds, she said, and Maddie helped train her to feel like her best self. And again, I had photos and everything for you guys, and I'll pop that up in the community page. But she has really done a transformation over this last year. And then we see Veronica, and we know Veronica from 90 Day Pillow Talk, as well as Single Life. And she is also dating a Persian guy. And she says hi to Maddie in Iranian, Persian, whatever you want to call it.
Probably Farsi.
I mean, Farsi, whatever you guys want to say, you let me know what you want to say. I'm not sure at this point anymore. But I thought that was I liked that. I like that she made that effort. And I tend to do that all across the board. If you meet people where they are and you learn a little bit about their culture, even if you learn how to say thank you in their culture, and at the end of your conversation or your interaction, you say that, it really touches them. Try it, you guys. You'll see.
It does.
Veronica tells Stevie one of the things you don't want to do is come between a Persian man and his mom, because you'll never win that battle. And Sahid the hater, that's literally how I wrote his name, shows up. Literally says he's glad that his friend is happy, but he could see him happier. And he needs his dreams and potential to be reached, and feels like Stevie doesn't support him. And Veronica was the first to stand up to hater Saeed. Because Saeed's a hater. Can you imagine you're living your year married life and then you see this dude again and he's still talking crazy after a year? And we find out that he told Marty that he could come and live in Cali and live with him. Again, last episode I said that this guy's in love with him. I'm standing on business, 10 toes deep in.
So I think that in Saeed's mind, that Marty is in the United States for the purpose of working and building an empire and probably sending money back to his family. Maybe that's what Saeed came and did, and that was his focus in arriving. So he doesn't seem to understand that Marty has a different focus in arriving, because he just doesn't understand why would you want to live in the city that you're living in.
I
Right?
mean,
And I blame Marty for that. I blame Marty for that because he didn't introduce his relationship on a good foot to Saeed. So Saeed's not understanding, what are you staying there for?
yeah, and I don't think that Saeed has built any type of empire. I mean, look at his shirt. And he doesn't know how to tie a tie. You've been here for 10 years. Stop playing. Sarper calls Saeed destructive. He's like, there are certain types of friends that you can have, and one of them is a destructive type of friendship, and that's what. Yes, call a spade a spade. Is that the saying?
That is a saying. That is correct. You are correct. Spade is a spade, and Sarper is correct. This guy is destructive. He's not there to help your relationship.
That's right. So Stevie is again, here is where she's approached again on her sexuality, and I'm kind of over it because I think it's immature of her to not just address the question. And so Sean is asking, are you bisexual? And she's like, I'm choosing not to answer that. Okay. Shekinah says, do you want to is it because you don't want to put a label on your sexuality? And she's like, yeah, that's what it is. And then Sean's like, okay, let me ask you this. Have you ever kissed a girl? And she's like, I'm not going to answer that either. And I feel like, on the one hand, her sexuality should not be an issue. But I also think that she should be mature enough as a grown-ass 37-year-old woman to address it if it does come up. And the fact that you're playing around and skirting over this issue shows me your emotional immaturity, because you're making it a big deal by skirting over and the way you're answering it. And I'm just going to be real with you. The simple fact that your dad thought you were a lesbian tells me that there's something there to it. And the fact that you can't say or don't want to answer whether you kissed a girl or not tells me everything that I need to know about you. I do think that it's an issue, and I think that it's something that you haven't dealt with, and that's okay. You are going to come to your conclusion in your own time, and that is absolutely your right. However, I do think that you're being immature on how you're going about it. Abby, thoughts?
I think that we don't know how to have these conversations sometimes. I think it's okay for Stevie to say, I do not know, or I'm working that out. But we don't teach people that it's okay to say those things. And so I just think she doesn't know how to deal with constantly being asked this question when she potentially is in a space where she honestly doesn't know. You know, I just don't think that where she's from, that she's had an opportunity to really explore and figure all of that out for herself. And now that she's in a heterosexual relationship, how do you then say, I'm going to define myself as anything other than hetero inside of this relationship? We don't really have healthy conversations around how we can help people do that and let people live in ambiguity. I also don't think she feels safe expressing it, you know, not in front of even her partner when they were alone, and definitely not in front of this somewhat hostile audience. This audience, I think, has to feel a bit hostile to her, except for Shekinah. And one time, I'll say something nice about Ammani. Shekinah and Ammani seem to be trying to give her a little bit of an out to handle the conversation. But I just don't think she's in a place to have it. And I don't think we as a society allow people to live in ambiguity. She doesn't know. I don't think she knows.
She does know.
I don't even think that. So, and as far as her dad, I think that men like him just don't think that 37-year-old women can possibly be single by choice. I think that he would, if he saw any older woman that was single, he'd probably say, oh, they're probably a lesbian. I just think that's the kind of person that he probably is. But
I think she does know. I think she does know. My intuition is telling me that she does know. And every time she's asked that question and she pauses to think about what her answer is going to be, lets me know exactly that she does know. She's just not
Well, she said
feel safe to share on national TV who she really is. And isn't she living in Mississippi or some Timbuktu?
yeah.
Sorry, Mississippi.
No, it is. It is Timbuktu. It's Hattiesburg.
But yeah. Yeah. I mean, y'all need to work on your food, and you probably need to work a little bit on diversity and being open-minded, but that's a conversation for another day.
She said she feels more attracted to a personality rather than gender. So she did say that. But because she's not willing to say, I'm bisexual, I'm pansexual, because she's not willing to put a word to it, people are giving her a really hard time about it. And that's the ambiguity I'm talking about. People are not willing to allow her to live in. She said she's attracted to people, not personal. Like, let her live there. It's okay. Let her live in that space.
I think it's okay for her to live in that space if she was single. She has a whole husband now, and I don't think that it's fair to be in a relationship, serious relationship, in a marriage where your husband doesn't know where you stand sexually. I don't think that's. I don't think she has the right to live in that space.
So question.
Because, as you guys know, Abby included, sex is important in a relationship. If your husband is questioning, your partner is questioning, whoever is questioning where you stand in your exclusive relationship, that is a bad look. And no, I do not think you can be ambiguous in that situation. Full stop.
Well,
period. What did
is
Sarper
he
say?
questioning
End of sentence. Period.
Is he questioning their sexual relationship though? Like I haven't heard him have any doubt. Like, are you interested in me? Are you enjoying having relations with me?
However, Abby, I think that he can be enjoying the moment. And yes, he hasn't said, are you enjoying your time with me? But when you continue to have doubts, that is going to creep into your sexual relationship. It may not be now a problem, but it will start to seep in. If he's continuing to question, he's going to continue to question, because then he's going to be like, "Oh, are you faking that you like being with me?" If the frequency or duration or whatever changes, then he has something to fall back on and say and question. So, absolutely, I'm standing firm on this. You cannot be in a serious marriage relationship and your partner doubts your sexuality. It can't happen. And y'all want to prove me wrong? Feel free. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I just think it's unfortunate because at this point, I think no matter what she says, there's going to be some part of the population, some part of the viewership that just doesn't believe her.
No, I think that if she came clean, that came out wrong. If she was honest with herself and decided that she wanted to share with the viewership, they would embrace it. If she did this one-on-one, hey guys, I've had some time to think about it, and here I am with who I am as a person, and I feel comfortable and safe sharing with you, and then sharing her story, they would eat that stuff up. You guys know how you love drama. So Veronica says to Stevie that you owe your husband honesty, and I agree with that. And then the juicy little cherry on top of the icing, y'all, is Jessica. You know how Jessica and Juan have skirted through a lot of the drama. Some of the drama is just BS drama. We find out 20 minutes in that Jessica has kissed a girl and she liked it. And not only did she kiss a girl, she kissed Megan, which
multiple
I've been telling
times.
you whole season.
Multiple times.
Megan is in love with Jessica. I've said this the whole season. And then not only did they kiss, and I know it's multiple times, but they kissed at her bachelorette party.
Correct. That girl wants you in a biblical way.
1000%. Y'all, listen to your intuition. When I tell you it's dead on, it's dead on. I called this from jump, standing 10 toes deep.
Joslo says, do you think that she meant a romantic kiss?
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
1000% yes. And not just one time, y'all. Not just one time, Joslo. They've been kissing.
a lot of times. That's what she said, actually, Joslo. They asked her, or somebody asked her at one point, like, was it just a friend kiss? And she said, no, like a real kiss. But
Yep.
she went on to say that she wouldn't have a relationship with a woman. So you don't make that kind of lip. I mean, you don't make that kind of leap from a platonic kiss to a I wouldn't have a relationship. Like it was a kiss of a sexual nature.
She said that it was like they go and have their margaritas, Joslo. They
Mhm.
get sloppy drunk, and
And
then
they make out.
they make out, and she's cool with that.
Hmm.
And I saw something. I think it was on like it was one of those. It was like People Extra, one of them. But there's some lady who was married for like 14 years, divorced her husband, reconnected with a oh gosh, I'm butchering the story. But basically she was married for 14 years, knew she was a lesbian the whole time, reconnected with some friend. Now she's with her partner. And I'm just saying, today on June, whatever, my phone's here, I don't know, 30th,
30th.
2025, and we'll be watching all things 90 days in the next 10 years. Let's not be surprised if all of a sudden it's 90 Day Fiance Happily Ever After and we see Jessica and Megan as a couple. I'm just saying.
Maybe there'll be a quadruple. Is there a word for four people and a couple?
Oh, probably.
With Herbie?
Probably. Sean moves on to Shekinah and Sarper. Sean says, hey, Shekinah, you look like you've changed your look a bit. And yes, she got her under eyes done and she's got some fillers dissolved. She's going for a more natural look. And she's going for a more natural look to how she used to look originally, is what she said. And so, I guess I have questions about. Listen, I've said this from day one. I'm not against getting a nip and a tuck, all the things. If I wasn't so scared of like needles and all that stuff, I would totally get like a little boob lift, right? But these whole like extreme, like what's happening? The Darcys, the Stacy, Shekinah, Ammani, and the list goes on. Like, walk me through how like you do all of this stuff to look a certain way, and then you're now starting to dissolve things because you want to look more natural. Like, tell me what is that? Like, just explain a little bit to me. And I also would love to talk to the doctors who are doing these surgeries, knowing that sometimes it's a disorder, right? You're always going to find the next thing that you think is wrong with you. And for the doctor to not sit you down and have those conversations and maybe even have you talk to a mental health therapist to make sure that this is something that you want to do. Because we're already seeing that Ammani she's going to have a meltdown, y'all, because she's already having an identity crisis because she doesn't know who she is. And she literally said that she did all this because she caved to social media pressures. And again, like, what role are the doctors playing? Like, yeah, you're getting your check, but are you worried about your patient's mental health or no?
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, she tells host Sean, that she's trying to go for a more natural look. Sean asks about their marriage, and Sarper says it's been a roller coaster ride. They didn't have a honeymoon. Shekinah is like, to this day, I don't even have an engagement ring. And it's been a mess. And I thought it was funny when because Matt's like, oh, when we first got married, I basically didn't have a pot in. So I just had like this $100 band. And Sarper turns to Matt and he's like, this is not about
Nobody asked them a single thing. Like, did they come here with the plan to be the most annoying people in the world? Because it seems like it.
Listen, they're like, let me get my 15 minutes. Let me just weigh in on all the things.
Yeah, it was so unnecessary. Nobody asked. Nobody cares.
So they had an intimate, special wedding moment. They showed the little replay of their bedding. But now everything has changed after they got married. She kind of feels like Sarper has changed. The dynamic in the relationship has changed. And a lot of this has to do with traditional roles, right? So he's moved into her place. He's got into a depression because he likes to be in control and he can't be in control because he's an immigrant. He probably still doesn't have his green card, meaning he can't work. He, probably can't drive, even though he says that that's one of the things that's also bothering him. But he's not in control, right? He's not the main bad guy. What does he call himself? Yeah, bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now he has to really rely on Shekinah, and that dynamic he's not used to. So
Right.
it's creating an issue in their relationship, and is especially prevalent, you guys, in my opinion, when you have a very alpha male, and now he is seeing, guided or misguided, I can't say, but guided or misguided in his mind, that he is no longer the alpha and the woman is the alpha, and because he's from such a traditional society, he's having to come to terms with that, and he's not. That's my personal opinion.
I think that's a really accurate and astute assessment of the situation.
So he's also upset that, and he doesn't, quote, like the marriage because he has now new responsibilities and duties, including but not exclusive to taking out the garbage, walking the dog, doing the grocery shopping, carrying boxes, fixing things that are broken in the house. He does not appreciate that he has to do those things as a married man. I was like, not say you're alpha and then also be bitching about the things that are included in the alpha role.
That's how they are nowadays, you guys. It's like these guys who ask for coffee dates. It's like, okay, you want a traditional spouse, but you're not attracting that by asking on a coffee date. Like, what do you really want? What do you really want? This guy told me I have a laundry service. This guy told me if we got married, I couldn't use my laundry service anymore. I said, why not? I'm paying for it on my own. Like, why wouldn't you, if you want me to stay home? This is back when I still had eggs left to give. No eggs left now. And I'm like, if you want me to stay home with kids, then why can I still have my laundry service if you're supposed to be a quote unquote traditional man? And then I found something out, like being on TikTok has actually made me learn so much about the world that I did not know, because I actually grew up with a traditional relationship. Like, my mom never paid bills. Okay. Um, she found out how much the utilities were when my dad passed away. She never saw that bill before. Okay. So I grew up like that. And what I found out from being on TikTok, because I was so confused at first, I saw all these women who list themselves as stay-at-home mom, but they clearly are like working a part-time job from home, or they're selling stuff on TikTok. So I was like, like, why are you calling yourself a stay-at-home mom when you're making money to fund the bills of the house? It's not your fun money. You're making money because you're like, oh, I want to help pay the light bill. I want to help pay the mortgage. Like, I don't, why are you calling yourself a stay-at-home mom? And then I found out that they're just funding their husband's provider fantasy.
Oof, that is deep.
That's all it is. And so I don't really know how I got off on this tangent right now, but I learned that from TikTok, that there are women out there who will introduce themselves to you as a stay-at-home mom, knowing full well that they're responsible for half or more of the household bills. And that is not a situation that I'm familiar with. But because these men know about it, they think that they could game us into the same situation to say, I want to be a traditional man. I want to make the decisions. Not if you got me, not if I can't have my laundry service.
Facts. Now, Sarper gives analogy about the butcher.
Yes.
And again, you guys, I died of laughter. And I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit because we're on YouTube. But he said the saying is he'd rather not be dependent on a butcher. He'd rather cut his eggplant off and eat it. And being dependent is his biggest nightmare. And he is absolutely showing that to be true. One of the areas they're not struggling in is the boudoir. That's the best part of their relationship. And Sarper says this because he's good at it. And, you know, they made the joke backstage where Greg was flirting with him. He's like, are you flirting with me? Are you going to be 2052? Or wait, 2552, whatever that number is, 2500 or 2000, but you know, plus one Shekinah, plus one Greg. I thought that was. And Sarper really misses turkey. And no, this is the thing that we've talked about, and I'm glad that I caught myself. So, you guys, we've talked about it when we covered 90 Day Love in Paradise. We talked about it when we covered what's the show we just talked about today, Abby?
Match Me Abroad.
Match Me Abroad. Sometimes, y'all, you do not bring vacay bay home. We've warned you. We've told you that vacay bay is very different than permanent resident bay. Okay? Vacay bay is very, very different than citizen bay. You're different when you're on vacation than you are when you are at home and you're in the day-to-day grind. And wherever you go and visit, that person is in their home place, but they're also different because they're meeting someone that they don't think that they're going to know for a long time. So when those two people come together, you really do need to spend time in each other's home turfs for longer than 5 days to see what life really is going to be about, or you're going to be in the Shekinah and Sarper and many other people's situation.
Correct.
Okay. Marty and Stevie are going to have this shock to their system as well because they spent 7 days together, period, not even in either of them's home country. So it is a thing, you guys, and it's something that you will have to deal with because vacay bay is not reality bay.
Mm-hmm.
So Sarper says that he misses turkey Shekinah, and Shekinah says she misses Sarper, turkey Sarper. Yeah, because y'all were vacaying. You guys were on holiday. You were on your holiday best, in your holiday best, acting the holiday best, and now this is real life.
Mm-hmm.
Then Dan shows up. Oh, good old Dan. Dan, they haven't seen him in like 4 months, not since pre-wedding or bedding. He said that the bedding was cheap. And Sarper's like, oh, well, sir, we don't have all have a castle. And Dan says, well, you don't need to have a castle, but you could do better. And he is just not impressed with all the things. He's not impressed that he hasn't seen Shekinah in 4 months. He had a birthday, he said, and she didn't call or text or have lunch with him. And she's like, I can't. I'm married now. And so they can't be friends. And Sarper jumped on that. Mark jumped on that. And so my question to you, Abby, to you guys in the live chat, if you're watching the replay, can married women still be friends with their single male friends that they've had for years after they get married? Can married women still be friends with their single male friends that they've been friends with for years. The caveat being that perhaps they dated in the past as well.
So my answer is yes. However, the problem with Dan is not that he previously dated Shekinah, it's that he's a hater. So if he was actually being, he's not being a friend to her in this moment. So there's no friendship to preserve. Because if you're going to constantly be belittling my relationship, my choice to be in this relationship, then you're not being a friend to me. You know, there's a difference between if there's a legitimate concern and you're worried that I'm being mistreated. There's a difference between you expressing that to me, legitimate concern about the relationship, as opposed to every single time you come around, you're going to take shots at my partner or my husband. That's not friendship. So there's no friendship to be preserved in that situation.
Mm-hmm. He also goes on to say that he thinks Shekinah has lost too much weight. And, you know, that's an important part because you know how Sarper had that weight requirement for a very long time. So that was something that he did bring up. And Sarper response, which is another analogy that I just love. I don't know, him and I would get along because we both say crazy analogies. But, you know, Dan is like when there's no horses left in a ranch, only a donkey, but the donkey sees himself as a unicorn. I was like, yes, Sarper, yes. And then the other one, he said, you know, he's like the spare tire. You know, you get a flat tire and there's a spare tire in the back, and the spare tire is in the trunk, always waiting for you to get a flat tire. That's Dan. I was like, yep, keep them coming.
Keep them coming. I have a question for you, Linda, and you guys in the chat. I've never been in a friend group where there's a person who's dated everybody. That's just not a friend group I've ever been a part of. Is that a normal thing that I just missed somehow?
I have never been in one as an adult, but I do think in high school that was a thing.
Okay, I didn't consider high school. I'm thinking, I don't know. I mean, like one or two. It would be like one or two guys maybe dated one or two other girls that are, you know, in similar circles. Like they're both cheerleaders or they're both, you know, whatever. But this idea that Dan has just dated all the girls in the circle and now he's just lingering around, that doesn't seem normal to me.
No, it's not. And especially as adults, no. But I mean, as teenagers, like you said, like the football crew and the cheerleading crew, there's been some, you know, similar, not everyone is friends, but similar circles. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was back in high school. Like we're adults now. Stop it. We find out that Sarper and Shekinah they got married. They had a huge fight. Shekinah kicked Sarper out of the house. He went and rented a house. He was gone for 10 days. And Sarper's like, you know, I had to go. He left the ring, he left the air tag, and he bounced. And he went out and lived his best life. Yeah, it's not a good sign, you guys. Not even a month married. Stop it. And Dan goes on to say, you know, getting into a fight doesn't mean getting on a flight, which was his tagline of the night. But he also went on to say that, you know, part of having a successful relationship is you have to have respect. If you have no respect, there's no relationship. And he doesn't think that Sarper is 100% in love with Shekinah. He thinks it's more like 70%, and that's the problem. Moving on to Mark and Mina, we didn't cover them yet. We just got introduced to them. So all we can say is that Sean, the host, said hello to them. Mark said they have a perfect marriage. Mina is perfect. And we found out they left New Hampshire and moved to Boston, and she loves it there. That's all we know about them. We'll hear more from them in part 2. Mm-hmm. Matt, Ammani, and Anie. Love triangle is what Sean called it. We find out that Ammani is 6 weeks post-op. Again, she had a nose job, a temporal lift, a BBL, a mini tummy tuck, lipo. And Sean was like, "Oh, it sounds like you had a whole body makeover." And we hear Aaliyah in the back say, "Oh, wow, that's a lot." Anie thinks it's crazy. Ammani's not proud of feeling pressure from social media to do all these things. Shekinah's like, "Why did you do it then?" And Ammani's like, "Well, why did you do it?" She's like, "Well, I only fixed things that were bothering me." And that just spoke volumes to me because of all the people that I mentioned before, the Darcys, the Stacys. I think that, again, if you are not 100% secure in who you are, then going on national TV is only going to amplify that because people are, and then you're going to start comparing yourself to other people, and you see that this person, they got their lips done. Well, maybe if I get my lips done, I'll feel a little better. Oh, maybe if I get a BBL, I'll feel a little bit better. Oh, maybe if I get my nose smaller, I'll feel a little better. Oh, maybe if I tuck my ear back a little bit, I'll feel better. Whatever it is, it goes on and on and on. But guess what? If you don't deal with the insecurity and whatever trauma and issues that are internally going on with you, then no amount of outer fixing is going to help you. And that's when you realize you've gone too far. And by then, you've gone too far. And then you're a Shekinah who is starting to dissolve things because she wants to be more natural and get back to what she normally, or what she used to look like. Or you have an Ammani who literally is regretting all the surgeries that she's gotten because now she's having an identity crisis because she doesn't know who she is. I do think Jessica brought up a great point. She's like, "And you have daughters. You have 3 daughters, and your daughters are looking at you like, ooh, you hated who you are, but they look exactly what you used to look like."
Right.
And trying to tell them that they're beautiful, but they're not beautiful enough, because if they were, then you yourself would feel beautiful and you wouldn't have changed your entire appearance to look different and not like them. So it's a whole circle, you guys. Really something that you have to think about. Shekinah goes and says, "Well, what was the point of getting all this surgery if you are now having an identity crisis?" And that's when Sean, the host, jumps in and says, "I see there's some hostility between you two. What's going on?" Shekinah explains how Ammani reached out to her and said some things. And Ammani's like, "Well, Shekinah's just thirsty for screen time." And Sarper calls Ammani calculated because it goes back to Ammani sliding into Shekinah's DMs saying, "Hey, we have some things in common, whatever, I'd like to be your friend. But oh, by the way, I'm going to say some things on the tell-all that you should, just be aware of," right? That is calculated, Abby. That is calculated. That is not.
That is calculated. And I don't care for Ammani, but I will just say one thing that perhaps we should take into consideration. If she's 6 weeks post-op, she's probably still on painkillers. Perhaps some of this erratic behavior is not her actual personality, even though we've seen her personality and it's not great. Maybe some of it.
What happened in the last 20 episodes then, Abby?
Yeah, it wasn't great, but like this whole like reaching out to Shekinah and being one way and then switching up and say, "I'm going to be saying negative things about you." And some of the things she's doing now, like when you're 6 weeks post-op from that much surgery, she's probably still swollen and still on painkillers. Now, she's still not somebody I'd want to be friends with, but I'm just putting it out there.
No, she's exhibiting mean girl behavior, and I'm not liking it. She's been mean this whole season and erratic. Erratic, yeah. Erratic this whole season.
She's a misogynist.
Yeah, I mean, that's the very starting point. And then they were asked by Sean, the host, if they were still together. And this is when I just shook my head. Like, I just, what I'm not about to do is have another season of them, because it should have ended the way it ended, and I would have been okay with that, because this was some nonsense relationship. But apparently, they are still together. They spent Christmas and New Year's together. They spent Ammani's daughter's birthday as a family in, I think, Mexico, they said. Again, I have pictures of it. I'll pop it up on the community page after our show. I was shocked and appalled. But yeah, apparently they all still love each other and are all still together. And that's it. That's all I have to say about that. Any
I can
thoughts?
only see this from Annie's perspective. Like maybe she hasn't had the best treatment in her workplace and personal life. And maybe this is a means to an end, which I don't hate her for. But from everybody else's perspective, I don't really understand.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna I'll have to get back to you on my thoughts on this. For now, it's a no for me. Then, and I want to get into it so much, but we are running out of time. We still have couples to get through. But when Matt tells the world that Ammani has always wanted a gay lifestyle and he wants to give it to her, there's so much to unpack there, you guys. There's so much to unpack there. And then we find out that Ammani and Anie have never been intimate together. The two girls have not been intimate together, but Matt and Anie have been intimate plenty of time. In fact, Matt goes to see Anie by himself on a regular basis. Then we find out that Ammani would rather spend her time making money and working than being intimate with Matt. So again, Abby talked about this on 90 Day, on 90, so many 90 days, on 90 Day, not The Last Resort, where Gino and Jasmine were bringing a third into a relationship, and explained how you can't bring a third into your relationship to fix something that's broken. It's the same thing here. I'm finding that you can't say you're a throuple just to fix something that's broken in your 10-year marriage. It's just not going to work out, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Matt and Anie apparently had an intervention with Ammani when they felt that she wasn't looking like her best and that she was too skinny at one point. And that's what kind of solidified her to get these 5 surgeries that she got all at once. And both Matt and Anie don't like the results, which is wild to me.
Yeah. So the only thing I'll say about Matt visiting Anie by himself is that if they are truly planning on applying for the K1, they do have to establish that he has an independent relationship with her. So that part did make sense to me, that he would be visiting her by himself and it's not going to be a group trip every single time, just from that perspective.
It's a good feedback. Thank you for that, Abby. We also find out that Shekinah asked a question to Ammani that she wanted private. And I can kind of understand where she's coming from, although really it's not her business. But she was curious. But she asked Ammani if Anie was trans. And instead of keeping it private, Ammani, because she is a shit disturber, went back and told Anie. And now Anie and Shekinah are in a kerfuffle.
Mm-hmm.
Sean and Aaliyah, they didn't get too much into it. We just got introduced to them or said hello. Sean, the host, did. Scale of 1 to 10, they were asked, how are things today? They both said it's an 8 out of 10. They're living in peace. They're not fighting. However, they are also not having sex anymore. Joe then says under her breath, how is that an 8? That's a 1. We'll get into it when we cover the part 2, you guys, but that is a lot. We didn't really get into Jessica and Juan. We just, again, Sean said hello to them. Jessica still hasn't learned Spanish. Shekinah says, well, why does it matter? he speaks English. I thought that was a very American-centered, narrow-minded way to think.
Yeah, that was very much her projecting the fact that she's not planning on learning any Turkish.
Yeah. And Sarper says, sometimes it's better not to talk at all.
That was a good ad lib. See, Sarper has good additions to conversations.
He does. Greg and Joan, and of course Lucille. Joan feels like they've been married forever. They are still living with Lucille. Joan feels like it's stressful because they have no privacy and it sometimes affects their intimacy. They bring out Big Ed, and all I have to say is, he looks rough. Rough.
He did look rough, but I did agree with what he said.
He likes them. However, he thinks that they should not be living with his mom. Recommends that Joan gives Greg 90 days for them to move out. It's a couple of things here. I agree with him. I think that at this point, like, even if you're not buying a place, you can rent a place. You have a job now, Greg, like, move out. You're closer to 40 than you are to 30. And the other part of me was like, but Ed used to live with his mom, and he used to live as he said, oh, I had my mom move in. But same thing when you were with Liz and Liz moved in, it was the three of you. So, you know, pot black. I don't know. Tells Joan to be a man, that he needs his own, tells Greg that he needs to be a man and that he needs his own space. Lucille comes out, and Lucille and Ed meet, and then there was a whole, I don't know, Greg called it sexual tension.
There was a little chemistry there.
Yeah, they went out for drinks after, and they were all hugged up, patting each other's behinds, the whole thing. Please, still, please, for the sake of all things that are good, please do not do this. Do not do it. Please. We've been on a reprieve from Ed. We do not want to see you with him. You can do so much better, because she did say that, you know, she's open to finding her own person. And that came after Shekinah telling Joan, you know, you had the nerve to tell Lucille to leave her own house. That's her own house. And you're saying that she's spending too much time in her own house. And Joan had an attitude, you guys. And this is, I did not like her in this tell-all. She literally is like, so she does stay home too much. And then Sarper chimes in and says Joan is ruthless towards Lucille. And Joan had so much attitude. And we find out that, you know, they're a couple, and the whole, like, protected versus not protected sex. And she's like, well, we're a couple, we're married, why should I? And then Joan was basically like, because I'm already supporting you guys, I don't want you to have a baby in my house, and then I have to support the baby too. And then so Shekinah made the point, you guys should wait till you have your own place before you start a family. I agree with that. I think you guys can't even support yourselves. Why are you bringing a poor innocent baby into this situation? Get on your feet, save some money, and friggin' move out of the house. And then when you actually can be on your own and know what it is to pay a light bill and a rent and a car payment and a gas payment and whatever, all the bills, all the grown-up bills, and you still think you can bring a kid into this world and support them, then do that. But don't make it Joan's burden, because you don't work, Joan. Your husband just barely got a job. And Lucille supports everyone in that house. So stop playing. If she's like, these are my boundaries, this is my limit, then you should respect that. And Joan was basically like, why should I?
Yeah. So we've seen this before. We saw this before with Emily and Kobe, and we saw it before with Kalani and Asuelu. This is poor sex education. There are people who think that using contraceptives indicates that you're dirty or you're not faithful, as opposed to being a means of family planning. And the way that she was so defensive, we're married, why should I? We're married, why should I? I get the feeling she falls into that same camp of people who don't see contraceptives as proper family planning. They see them as for dirty people, for whores. Remember, Asuelu was like, he didn't want to use a condom because those are for dirty people. So this is just like a failure of proper sexual education, because there is no reason why they shouldn't be using protection. They are not in a position to be having children right now, in my opinion. You know, some people don't mind having children in poverty and dire circumstances. I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, no. At least you can be poor, but be poor with a roof over your own head. Period. Sick of y'all. Joan, don't make me hate you in the tell-all part 2, because this was not your best look. Do better and be better.
Yeah, and I also want Shekinah and Sarper. I do think they were asking very good questions, but the questions need to be directed to Joan and Greg. Like singling out Joan to be responsible for contraception, I don't like it. I don't like when the burden is put on women only to have that job, that our bodies have to be the sacrifice for it. Men you can have a vasectomy as well. It can be reversed, or you can do IVF.
I mean, I agree with you. However, it was Joan that had the bad attitude on this
She
tell-all.
did. She did.
But
She did. It was not likable at all, the way that she thinks she can run this other woman's house. And it just reminded me of when she said earlier, in one of the early on episodes, that she didn't actually realize, even though Greg told her, I live with my mom, I don't have a job, she didn't really believe the words he was saying, because she was like, but he's American. All Americans have X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I think she still has this ridiculous idea of we can get a house at some point. This man just started working.
Yep.
That's not how you get a house here, honey.
Some of us, you still don't have houses like that. You know how much a house costs in the land of the, what is it? The land of the what? Warm and free?
Land of the free, home of the brave. Yeah, there's no recognition on her part of how hard it would be to get a house. Like somebody asked, like, oh, do you think that if you got pregnant, it would like make him more motivated to move out? And she was like, yeah, I think it would help. No, ma'am. All of the assumptions that you're making are wrong, and you're not listening to the words that people are telling you. You have a made up version of the United States in your head that simply is not true. And the sooner you break away from that made up version and accept the reality that you're living in, the better off you'll be.
100%. Last little part, they were on break and on lunch, so I'm just going to call it break. Shekinah and Sarper fighting. Sarper feels like they were enemies towards each other. She feels like he's not a supportive partner. So they're fighting backstage, and he tells her she's moody, and if she continues to be moody, she's going to lose him, and she'll regret it like a dog. He also goes on to say that she's spoiled. Everyone hears that they're fighting. I just, I don't like when fights are not about what the fight is. Like, I don't like the name calling and the degrading and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I never have. Like, I just have never been. I would rather walk away from the situation than have a stupid fight and say things that you're going to regret. Fight about what the fight is about. And at our grown age, we can disagree without being hurtful and spiteful.
Correct.
That's just my 2 cents.
I agree.
I wrote down again, because Jessica's the one that brought it up again, that her and Megan kissed at the bachelorette party, amongst other times. At lunch, Marty is asking for advice backstage to Sean about sexuality, and Stevie comes in, everyone gets quiet. Again, to me, that is not a sign of a healthy relationship when you can't be open and honest in front of your partner. Wild to me.
Right. I also just want to say something about Mari's question. I guess the reason why part of questioning her sexuality is just rubbing me the wrong way a little bit is because do you think she's a cheater or do you not think she's a cheater? Because he's asking Sean, did you feel like you always wanted men basically inside of your relationship when you were married to a woman? And that's not really the point. The point is, do you have a faithful partner or do you not have a faithful partner? Right? Because whether he desired a man or not in the relationship, or he desired a woman or not in the relationship, the point is, are you going to step out of the relationship and cheat on me, regardless of what the desire is? And I think that we're getting unnecessarily bogged down, or not we, but Marty is getting unnecessarily bogged down in what the desire is as opposed to the faithfulness.
Yeah, but again, he is also coming from a very traditional male-based dominated society, and I don't think he knows any better. I think that in his mind, if she was to step out of their marriage and cheat with a female, that would really impact his sense of manhood. And not that it should, but that's what it would be. And so I think his fear is in his single-minded way of thinking. And I think that in time he'll have to learn, but I don't even think he's going to learn that in Mississippi, because that's not far off from where he grew up.
Yeah, but I will say I appreciate the fact that Marty is like, oh, here's someone I can ask this question to, and he's like identified a potential resource, as opposed to other people who grew up the way that he did might recoil from people like Sean and not try to have a friendship and reach for understanding. So he is reaching for understanding, and I do appreciate that he's trying that. I wish that Sean had given him a little bit of a different answer.
I wish they had more time, right? Because then they all stopped talking once Stevie came in. I feel like there could have been more time to explore what the answer would be.
Correct.
That being said, you guys, that we are almost caught up. We have one more episode for this season before we move on to our next series. Thank you guys so much for being here. My apologies, and thank you guys for hanging in there with all of the technical difficulties that I've been having as of such. Please do like and subscribe, and we will see you guys in a few days. Don't forget to comment and interact with us, and we will definitely check the comments, and we'll see you guys very soon. Abby, I'm going to end. I don't know what it's going to look like now. I know we usually have our behind stuff, but I don't know on my phone what that's going to look like. So
that's all right. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.